TV.
A very warm welcome. You are watching Food Thursday right here on Locust TV. Now, agriculture is the backbone of the Kenyan economy, and it contributes to up about 33% of Kenya's GDP, and that is why we cannot wish away the food conversation. Today in the program, we talk about state of farming in Kenya right now, and to help me talk about the issue is Pascal Kaumbudo, who is an agriculture engineer. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Yeah, and of course, at the very far end, Wangari Kuria, who is a modern farmer. Karibu. So let us just jump straight into the conversation. As of right now, what is the state of farming? We know there's livestock, then there's the crops themselves, and many other. So if I can start with you, Kaumbudo.
That's a big question. State of farming. Wow. Challenging or challenged in many ways in terms of where we are in development. Happenings like the changes in climate, the locust invasion, but focusing on the good sides. Very hard-working farmers, most of them small-scale farmers. A few large-scale farmers who are succeeding no matter what. And a very needy environment and sector in terms of field extension services, very little support from government in terms of, we're talking of, the government is already spending 2% of the GDP on agriculture, despite promising to do 10% some years back, which we can get into later. So in a nutshell, a challenged system that needs to produce 70% more food in the next 10 to 20 years, and one wonders where that food will come from.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and Wangari, you are a modern farmer. How has the journey been for you?
The journey has been good. For myself, I usually advocate for other urban farmers to also farm wherever they are. My tagline is Lima everywhere. It means that if you have a small space, if you have a balcony, if you have a windowsill, make use of that. Try and say, at least I'm not buying Dania. So for me, it's been quite interesting with the COVID pandemic. People are taking that, and there's been a lot of change. But then that also has affected the market, because not too many people are going into restaurants, common areas where people would need food in bulk. So there has been a struggle. A bit of exports in terms of horticulture has come to a halt, because most of the countries we are exporting to are on lockdown. So it means also there has been some limits because of the COVID.
And what do you exactly deal with? What do you farm?
So I farm strawberries, mushrooms, and greenhouse items. My biggest challenge is space. My biggest advantage is market. Because I live in an urban area, I'm surrounded by high-rise, which means I have ready market. People want my product. They can see it growing when they peep through the window. But now I have to think about technologies or things to help me to maximize my space. So I prefer products like mushrooms, which will take small space, and the product, a few pieces of mushrooms will go for about 150 per punnet, compared to skuma wiki for 150. If you're selling it at farm gate price in kilos, you'll need so much space, so much quantity. That's why I have to strategize how I'm going to maximize my space. Same with strawberries and greenhouse plants as well.
Okay, and Mr. Kaumbudo, so is it a good time for large-scale farmers or small-scale farmers, given that large-scale farmers have complained of support from the government?
It's an interesting time, I should say. I just would like to follow up on where my colleague ended in terms of urban farming, looking at very small space, and yet one could say, excuse me, we're in a country that has got 60–70% idle land for farming. So seriously, what are we going to do as a country to be able to farm that bigger lands, to support the urban farmer, to support the export industry, to support the restaurants and hotels and markets that need more produce. So the last, excuse me, the large scale farmer, yes, usually growing for big, cereals, and in a big way. We also have the horticultural farming. We're exporting flowers and all that. Small scale farmers will tend to do all of them, no matter where they are. Some maize, some vegetables. They will tend to rotate their maize with some legumes like beans, and also growing a lot of products in the same farm because they want to reduce the risk. If one fails, another one succeeds, and they remain in the game. So it's that kind of an arena that we are playing.
Okay, and land is a big issue in this country. Like, people grow up, get jobs, and the first thing they want is to acquire land. So, and there's then a growing interest in farming, even among young people. So what would you advise for someone who's looking to get into farming?
If you're looking to get into farming, be encouraged, because the market is there. But be careful, be stepwise. If I can say a little bit about what we do, I am the managing director of a company that is encouraging agricultural mechanization, that is supporting farmers to mechanize. Farmers cannot buy equipment, they cannot buy tractors and plows and all the things that go with them. We also want to do modern farming. So if we can set up bases, which we call hubs, and farmers come for services, then they are able to farm. Around these kinds of centers of excellence, we are building in a youth program where the youth can operate the smaller machines and make a business out of it.
So it's still creating opportunities.
It's creating opportunities for these youth, and going by the access to land issue that you talked about. Yes, the land is there, but it is not always, available for these youth. Maybe it is land that is good for farming, owned by somebody who still has a business in Nairobi, or who was just given land by, left land by the parents, but doesn't have time to farm because they are busy doing other things. We always talk of the main hustle and the side hustle. And a lot of times farming seems to be a side hustle. So if these youth can get into farming as a serious business, coming together as youth groups and beginning to actually see how to hire that land to farm it, because the land is there. And then maybe entities like ours, AgriMec Africa Limited, we can see how to assist in terms of now making work easier. The youth are running away from the farms because farming is hard work. They want quick gains, and it's not always like that in agriculture.
And now maybe Wangari, since you are a young person yourself, and farming is a bit unpopular among the young people, though there are some who are taking it up, you being one of them. So were you unpopular when you got into farming?
Yes and no, but I found an interesting way to change that. Whatever you're doing, there is a need for that. If you're making tea, there is a need for that. If you're landscaping or pruning the fences, there is a need for that. What I would call out for is for everyone to find their individual uniqueness in whatever they are doing. So for me, yes, I was farming, but I found a unique way to do it. I started a YouTube channel to share my journey, my struggles. It's not easy, but nothing is easy. Jack Ma didn't get where he was by being easy. Ruto didn't get where he was by just sheer luck. You have to work hard, you have to make goals, you have to try. And I think the biggest conversation is, why are young people not interested in farming? Yes, that's the bigger conversation. And I think parents have a lot to do with this. My parents, my dad, when he heard I'm going into farming after having a master's, is like, what is happening? You need to talk to your daughter. What is happening?
You need to go to the office.
Yes, yes. That is the path that we've been put by our parents on, and they kind of steer you away from too much manual work. They want you to go and do an office job, which they are not available. So we need to change that conversation to parents' approval, approving the hustle that their kid is trying to get into. The other conversation is research. Try, figure it out. There's something called the YouTube University. I have a channel there called Farm on Fire. Google, see other people doing it, see the possibility, allow your brain to see that, oh, this is doable. And because when people think of farming, they think of peasant farming in the sun all day, bending your back.
Yeah.
Then Pascal comes here and says, no, you can mechanize, you can use your brain to save your back. And that's what the conversation should turn into, that agriculture is a business. If you look at it from a business point of view, then anyone can do it. Yes.
And it's actually, we need food.
Yes.
We eat all the time, so there's there's actually a business.
Yes.
And there's food. So that's gonna be my next question. Is there money in farming?
A lot of it. A
Okay.
lot of it. Incidentally, the COVID period also made people realize that no matter when they cut out all the other luxuries, there's in the center of that there is eating. You must eat.
Got it.
Everybody started walking. You know, people carrying stuff on their vehicles and opening the boot and becoming a.
That was very
the
popular
market.
where I come from. Yes.
So food is an essential product, and it's really just unfortunate that we don't seem as a country to be giving it enough attention. I talked about how much GDP we are allocating to agriculture.
Yeah.
Extension services failed a long time ago. A farmer who is somewhere who wants just information on what seed is good for my area. A farmer who wants to be able to read a soil test report needs assistance. Needs somebody who can tell them, well, as much as you have been using DAP, it shows that your soil is missing some of the micronutrients. It needs zinc, it needs, boron, it needs these other things, and this is why you can find this product in the Kenyan market. We need to get a bit more scientific about it. And the research that we are conducting can need to be research that helps the farmer, especially the small-scale farmer, because that's the majority. And the information arena is so needy in so many ways. And this is one of the gaps we are trying to fill in as a company, to have these centers of excellence where it's not just mechanization, it is the whole value chain. It is the from soil testing, the agronomy, the care of the crop, how you harvest, how you take care of your harvest, and how you are going to get that to the market. Contract farming. The market is looking for product. The product is all over the place, scattered, and it needs to be aggregated and taken to the farm. Sometimes you hear of the broker. People blame the broker, but the broker is the aggregator of all these produce because it's grown all over, assembles it, and takes it to the market.
Yes.
The problem is when this broker also becomes exploitative because the farmer is unaware. And that's why I talked about the youth coming together. Let them even be the aggregators. Let them be the farmers. Let them be the marketers. There is so much to be done and so much money to be made in agriculture.
Okay. And Wangari.
Yes.
So where is your market once you have farmed and now your crops are ready for the market? Do you have like places that you supply?
Yes, as I said, I'm an urban farmer, so it means digital farming. We have WhatsApp groups for people in the estate for security reasons or any other reason that could be. So that was usually my main push for my produce. So I will tell people, today we have harvested beetroots. As you come for your evening boga, please make sure you get a kilo or two. We have cucumbers today as well. We have trainings. So WhatsApp digital marketing has been my main form of market, and then just figuring out the logistics, maybe getting a motorbike to deliver and things like that. So yeah, digital, that's how I sell my produce. And then because now of the social media presence with the YouTube, now I also have some people inquiring and asking me, can you plant this for me? Can you do this for me, in terms of that kind of, but that takes time, but yes, that happens as well.
Okay,
Yes.
so then you also listen to the needs of the market, then you
Yes.
try to factor.
Exactly.
You try to factor them in.
Yes, you have to, because that's the thing. Especially my male clients, they end up having,
Just continue.
okay, they end up having to, sorry, they end up having to, my male clients, they want to start big. They want to start with 10 acres. Well, for me, my strategy is usually start small, figure it out, know the hurdles, know what you like farming. You know, you could be liking to farm skuma wiki, and apparently farming wheat or something else is your thing, is what, you know, excites your passion, has passion in terms of who the personality that you are. So my strategy is start small. Pascal might differ, but that's what I usually say: start small, then scale up, because the lessons are the same with the small one, and then you scale up to the big one. So the issue is that people might start big. You go get a loan, 100K, go lease land, plant sorghum, and then it's all eaten by birds, but you didn't factor in that. Then you say farming is bad, or I have wounds. Yeah. But there are corporates and consultancy firms that are coming with solutions of, you don't have to do this alone. Just because you are brought up digging, just because your mom, like mine, was a housewife, plus, their side hustle was making sure that there's subsistence farm for the family. Yes. It doesn't automatically mean you can farm and farm profitably, but we will hold your hand. We will show you how to figure these things out. Okay. Yes, so there is money, and biggest of all, there is opportunity.
Okay. And is it something that you do on a full-time basis?
Yes.
Oh, so it is actually very sustainable even for young people?
Yes.
Yeah, that is very good to know.
Yes.
And Kambudo, we are talking about subsistence farming as well, and the people right at home, they want to have some skuma wiki, you want to have onions, just even for the family use. So is there a way for people to know that skuma wiki does not do well in this area? Say if I want certain fruits, they don't do well in this area. How can people know?
Going on from where she left, actually, the future is digital. Farming must become, digitized, in the sense that there are very many apps now where you can actually, dial in and check whether something will do well in your area, where the market is, and so on. There are quite a few. There is even information exchange between farmers, platforms for that. Something like WeFarm. You've heard of iFarm. These days there is iCow. There is, there is everything. Yes. But again, that information is not always well packaged for the type of farmer that we have. So there is a gap there. Okay. The farmer to farmer exchange is a very powerful thing, like what WeFarm does. I am a farmer. I send out a question there. I am in this area, I have tested my soil, this is how it looks, what do you think I should grow? And fellow farmers are responding.
So that works very perfectly.
That works very well.
You're both in the same field, you experience the same issues.
Yes.
So solutions can just come within.
Yes, and it helps what she said, that you have some people who have been doing it, and then you don't fall into the same pits, If their sorghum dried like it has been eaten by birds, then this other person is saying, as much as you are getting into farming, be careful, because make sure you have got, if it is sorghum, make sure you're not growing it alone. Grow with many other farmers so that the birds will come, they will eat anyway, but they will fill up and not cause any major damage. The problem is when they come into your farm alone. and you have only 2 acres.
Then everything is gone.
Everything is gone.
And you
Yeah,
can
so the journey is an interesting one, but it needs certain support systems and certain care and certain science and certain information flow.
Okay, and when we talk about the information flow, then there are farmers who are, a lot of our farmers are in the remote areas. So then, with technology, have you managed to, say, take them through mobilization, just to take them through the apps, so that they actually know? Sometimes as a company we wonder whether we are going to do everything. You know, we have our focus. Our focus is to make farming easier. We are being called from all over the country. We don't have anywhere near the capacity to take mechanization to every farmer that needs it. So the journey is still young, and this is why I will continue to blame the powers that be and the systems that we have, which don't come and join up with a company like mine and make sure that farmer in a remote area actually gets this service. It's a journey in the sense that we are talking to county governments. The county governments tend to go and buy 100 tractors and bring them and then place them there. And 3 years later they call us and say, can you guys come and make these machines work? How did you acquire them in the first place? Why didn't you even think about how you are going to run them? In fact, why did you even have to do it? Why didn't you team up with us, prepare a credit guarantee through which we can use to access money from a bank? You give us the guarantee that should things really go wrong, which we don't see going wrong, we will have access to these machines. And we will have access to the guarantee to get us out of maybe there's a drought here, maybe the locusts have come and eaten everything. So as a government, you have that responsibility to look after your farmers, but by engaging the private sector. Because the private sector does things for profit. And they're not going to just open up more land or even have that 100 tractors. Maybe they want 20 first, and so on. Because in private sector, is a partner that the government needs to make things work. Government can get very far in terms of agribusiness by giving guarantees to those that want to dirty their hands. You hear of Kenya Youth Fund and so on, but does a typical youth really know where to get that fund? Incidentally, sometimes I wonder where these funds go, because I hear of women's fund, youth fund, and so on. You don't exactly.
I don't know where it is, because I'm working with the youth, and the youth, neither the youth nor me know how to access that money. I go to the banks. The banks are very risk averse. They don't always want to engage with agribusiness.
Okay.
And so on and so forth.
Okay. And Wangari, have you tried to access maybe these opportunities, like the funding for youth in business?
Yes. Just to point on that note of rural farming, we sat down. We have a club where we have people in agribusiness who are doing digital marketing. Mr. Agriculture, Mr. Horticulture. If you go check them on Twitter, you'll see us having Twitter wars and sharing ideas. But then we thought, apart from doing the wars on keyboard, what can we do on the ground? So myself, we partnered with a lady called Wangari, the onion farmer, and we went to my hometown, which is in Nyahururu, which is where I've been born and bred. And we had an agri-clinic. This is where we put up a tent smack in the middle of town, and we get people who are passing by, who are farmers, giving them, discussing issues, giving them advice where we can, and just trying to open up their mind. Because I think mindset is the biggest challenge. It's not access to fund, it's mindset and access to information. And that's what we were offering, where it's like an eye clinic, a free eye clinic. But now you walk in, you say, this is my challenge. I grow potatoes here, and this is what is happening. Or my soil used to produce 50 bags per acre, and now it's producing 35. What do you think is the issue? And it was quite a good experience that now we partnered with the other influencers to be doing a county roundup, and that's what we'll be doing on a monthly basis to reach the rural farmer.
Okay.
Yes.
We are taking a short break here on Food Thursday, but we'll be back. Don't go too far.
We value your feedback and welcome your complaints about our programming and operations. Feel free to get in touch with us through 0700 893 542 or send us an email to views@look-up.tv. We can't wait to hear from you. You're watching Look Up TV.
Turn your 50 bob into a million shilling investment. Changamka and Shindagari Chap Chap with Hometel. There's millions in shillings worth of prizes to be won. Send your 50 bob to paybill number 4040153 and get a chance to win 20,000 shillings daily. And each week, one person gets a chance to walk away with a Mazda Demio and another a Beth Mobility motorbike. Remember, the more times you try, you could be the winner of a fantastic Toyota Prado. Do not be left out. Send 50 shillings to paybill number 4040153. Account name Locust TV, and get yourself a Hometel lucky number. Changamka and Shindagari Chap Chap with Hometel promotion. For more information, visit www.shindagari.co.ke. Terms and conditions apply.
Kibera slum. It's different and the biggest of its kind in Africa. With people drawn from different backgrounds, all united in their quest to beat the odds and change their lives. Amid a grinding poverty and neglect, theirs is a life driven by hope for survival, engineered by 3 Ps: patience, passion, and perseverance. Join us on Look Up TV as we shine a light on Kibera's untold stories.
You're not a man, no. You're not a man, no. You're the God who opens doors no man can shut. You're not a man, no. You're not a man, no. You're the God of everything. There's no one like you.
Look Up TV.
Welcome back. You are watching Food Thursday right here on Look Up TV. And we want you to engage with us. The SMS number is 20374. And you can also engage with us on social media at Look Up TV across Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube as well. Today we are talking about the business of food. What is the state of farming in Kenya at the moment? And with me on set is engineer Kaumbudo and Wangari, who is a modern day farmer. Yes. And just before the break, we were talking about, we touched a little bit about the COVID-19 and the effects. So we have had over 10 months of the pandemic, and that's why I would want to know exactly how it affected you as an engineer and as well a farmer.
Wow, no, nobody foresaw this. It was a very, very difficult year last year. It broke the biggest impact with COVID was it broke all the supply lines. Where we were renting out machinery to farmers, we found that there's a lockdown. Remember when we started, there was even a lockdown of 7 p.m.
Yeah.
When you get a machine out and you're being told that, that time I think there was, even the masks came after. You're just being told when you go out there you're going to die, basically. So you stay home and then you break that that plan that you had, the training programs that you had set up, the support systems of entities like GIZ we were working with to do a training program. All those just came to a standstill. A typical farmer who has got bananas that are ripening in the shamba, they find that they just watch. They try and eat those bananas. They wait for the trucks that normally come. The trucks are not coming. There was then the lockdown of Nairobi. You couldn't get out of Nairobi. Of course, the trucks for feed could still go, but then hotels were all closed. The supply lines to most people were growing for hotels and restaurants and these urban markets. People started staying at home, but what was happening? Were they eating less? Because it was a tricky time, I guess the main impact was just the breakdown in the supply lines.
Okay. And how did it affect you, Gary?
For me, it was actually a blessing in disguise. I got to get opportunity to change the trainings to the digital platform, where now more people were at home. They have access to internet. They have the time.
A lot of people embraced the social space.
Yes, because then they were thinking, now what can I do at home? But I can go for a training about farming, and I have that idle land. At least Wangari can help me figure out how to start, how to, because that's where most people get stuck. They're like, how much money do I need? What do I plant? Where will I get seeds and stuff like that? And that's how I come in, is that the thinking small of starting, the baby steps of trying to plant, the process of just initiating that process. And for me, it worked out well. I even got time to finish my book. I have a book. It started as an e-book, because most of the time you go online to look for an e-book and they're all written by foreigners. So they're talking about Fahrenheit and summer and in
terms that are not relevant here.
Yes. And you're wondering, and they're telling you all these limits on what can be planted where and where. I'm sure because he's the scientist, he might tell me, yes, there has to be a methodology of doing it. But I believe as long as you're in the tropics, basically most of the things can grow. It's just the management that is different. So when someone tells me, can potatoes grow in Kitengela? I say, try. Try. Because potatoes were not even inherently supposed to be from Africa. They came with some guys who came during the early times of colonization. So it's about also opening the conversation to people to what to do even when on lockdown, that people still need food. People need to engage their kids, because kids were idle. So you are there typing away in your laptop and your kid can't engage in your Zoom call. But if you go to the farm, they can help you and they can see what you're doing and they can realize, oh, carrots come from the ground. That's what the kids would come for farm visits. They're like, I thought they grow on trees or something like that. And it's an opportunity for us to allow the disruption that COVID brings to change the mindset. There's been a lot of discussion in the world about why is in Africa struggling as much as it is. We were expecting people there to die like flies because of COVID. Yet in America, the numbers are way high. In London, there's still a lockdown a year later. So they're trying to figure out. And me, I think, because obviously I'm a farmer, food. So that means when
food has enabled us to fight the virus.
It's build our immunity, and we have better systems because of the food. So guess what is going to happen when eventually the world opens up? When they go to the supermarket and they see this avocado comes from Africa, our products are going to be very high in demand. And that means that we need to brace ourselves. Africa is going to become the new superpower. That's what I believe, because we have all the resources at hand. We just need to strategize and do what is needed, because we have the right population, we have young people, and young people are very innovative. I know we are going to go into innovation and that. I believe a young person, when you tell them do this task, they won't do it at a file, they want to cut shortcuts, and in that they are creating efficiency. Yes.
Okay. So, and the government had put measures when COVID first struck, and now we knew that since we are unsure of how long it's going to be around, then the government had said when it comes to food security, then Kenyans don't have to worry. We have enough food, we have put enough measures, we are working with farmers to ensure that the food still gets to the people who need it. Was that implemented?
I don't know. I looked everywhere. I didn't see it happening. At one point, people were saying if you go to your local chief, they have got some fund or some supplies which you can access. I have not had a single farmer who says they benefited from that. Maybe I'm not going to the right places, but I've also become very cautious about these. The public speeches that are given, very different from what's happening on the ground. Tunasema kwa ground mambo ni tofauti because we who hang out with these farmers, on a day-to-day basis, we don't seem to see some of these impacts that are talked about. When we tend to report farming in very positive light, of course we will say how so and so has succeeded and how they are now, this, that, but we don't always highlight the challenges that they have gone through. And this is why the youth will tend to rush into farming after reading, something on the Saturday newspaper, just not realizing that actually it wasn't that easy. The tendency in human nature is when I have succeeded, I just tell people how easy it was and how tough I was. But, not always highlighting the challenges I went through to be able to get where I am. Okay. So I think the government support, yes, but we need to get the people on the ground to actually deliver this support.
Okay.
In terms of private sector companies, entities like she's talking about, where she has now suddenly got access of a form which a youth is going to fill in to access, because she's interacting with the youth, but she doesn't have the forms. The forms are with the chief. And this old way of doing things also going through chiefs who really, typically they are local leaders, very much influenced politically and not necessarily in touch with what is going on on the ground.
So then how did you manage to stay afloat during this 10-month period?
There was a lot of perseverance. There was a lot of changing the way you are doing things. We realized that we had to focus more on training. And again, the kind of training where we could go and with social distancing, we could still meet the farmers, and be able to do some training. But this was not easy. You find that income levels just went down. But there were some ways of when our tractors came back, into July, August, we couldn't do the way we did the April season, in the October season. We realized that actually, even with COVID around, we could still get out, and in the farming environment, people had relaxed a lot more. People were not the COVID was not really where you have open air and in the farm and you're just on a tractor. Yeah. You're not spreading COVID to anyone. So we realized that business needed to go on.
Okay. And with the locust invasion, right now we are experiencing the second wave of the locust invasion. The first one was early last year, and then the second one came in at around November. So, and these locusts, they eat up to 12 tons. So that is a whole lot of food that can feed even so many human beings. So the steps that the government is taking, maybe from a science point of view, given that the locusts are coming from Ethiopia and then they're here. We're told it's because of the weather, but so then, how the government is going about it? Is it working?
I have not. One of the things that COVID cut out is the interactions we used to have with a very wide range of communities in the country. That went lacking. In fact, the whole COVID thing sort of made locust invasion not become, as highlighted as it should have been in the media.
Yeah.
So the science of it is that when the first round came, they left eggs, which now became the second wave, as the we should say the eggs turned into into insects. The way the government has approached it is engaging the support of FAO and others, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, to try and spray, these locusts. The first time, I think there was quite an active activity trying to actually spray them and so on. Even as COVID was going on, I'm aware that in northeastern, all the way into Garissa, Meru, Isiolo, and even into Laikipia, there was quite a bit of activity, and that was good. This is a climate change outcome, and we have to see how to change the way we are farming, build a lot more resilience, so that we don't have happenings like this.
Yeah.
We may talk about locusts, but how about many other things that happened even during COVID, like floods?
True.
This region has had a lot of rain in the last 3-4 years. In fact, they have been reporting that we've gotten more rain in the last 4 years per year relative to the last 100 years. We never had so much rain in the last 100 years.
Yeah.
And you have seen it in terms of hay that people have grown as feed for animals and could not sell it because there was so much feed everywhere, and so on. Okay. So as much as locusts invaded, I think we could have done a better job in giving it more attention, to at least kill the second round. We could have made sure that we don't have the resurgence of it.
Okay, and now we know that it's across over 15 counties in the country, and there's a climate change and an eventuality. Right now it's within Marsabit, Wajir, the arid.
Yes.
Yeah, but again with climate change, so it's an eventuality. It could spread even further. It was reported at the end of last week that the locusts have spread now to Makueni County. And so in the event that the locusts invade your farm,
yes,
what are the measures that you're putting?
That's a good question. I actually did a video on that because I want everyone to be prepared and I don't want there to be so much loss. So what we did, we looked for old mosquito nets and we were ready to trap them because that would become very good chicken food because of their high protein nutritional value. Before they migrate, as they're eating, try and trap them.
People are saying actually some people can make food out of it.
Yes,
from certain regions of the country.
Yes, it's also about thinking if the pandemic, what are the benefits? I don't think God is that unfair. He always gives you the option of this could be a source of something. So yes, you might not eat it, but it could be food for your chicken, it could be food for your pigs, and that kind of thing. The other conversation which he brings in is the bigger conversation of environmental management. As farmers, are we being responsible? Are we practicing safe practices that tomorrow our children's children will be able to utilize this land? If there are not enough trees, how does that affect farming tomorrow? In Australia, there has been a lot of desertification because, let's learn from them. Let's not wait until the entire country looks like Makueni for us to say, oh, we need to action something. Let's start now. Let's start with ensuring that there is crop cover. Let's make sure that there is minimal tillage, those kinds of things that just ensure that we are taking care of the land for tomorrow's generation. Remember that food, clothing and shelter is one of the basic human needs. If we don't take care of our food sources, we are going to have a problem. The other thing is water. I grow food in smack the hottest place that I know. Okay, I've been to Turkana to do a training on farming as well, but Kajiado is also as hot. There is no water, and you know, if you don't have water, you basically are not farming, because you are waiting for rainfall and everyone else is waiting for rainfall, so you have competition of market. To have that advantage, farm when there is no rainfall, because people will need food all year round.
True.
But then where are you getting the water? If you're getting it from boreholes, I have had incidences where neighbors' boreholes are drying day by day. Okay, not in the last 1 year because of the insurgence of the rainfall, but that is actually happening. We need to have a deeper conversation. We've heard about South Africa lacking water. It is all integrated. It is all interrelated. We can't just have the conversation about one thing. It is human survival.
Then we need water if we're talking about farming progressively.
Yes.
Yeah. And
incidentally, there was recently I was at a field where we were harvesting potatoes in Isinya.
Okay.
At Ratia.
Yes.
And this is because it was planted with irrigation. If you have water, you can go almost farm anywhere.
Yeah.
Kenya is only a third of the country that is considered, where rain-fed agriculture can succeed. But we have all the rest of the country, which is actually very irrigable. You can irrigate.
And then we always have the conversation about Egypt, which is in a desert, but the farming, yes.
and this is why I'll continue to blame the government, because you have heard of big dams that was to be made because of a focus on agriculture, where we could irrigate, Elgeyo valleys and Keio and wherever. But this money is just wasted. You have heard of entities like this Galana Kulalo complex, where we were supposed to get food security from.
Yes.
Billions and billions of money poured there, but we don't seem to see the products. So irrigation is one of the. I think we have only exploited something like 4 to 8% of our irrigation capacity in this country. The rivers are there, but we do it very recklessly. We do the irrigation in very wasteful ways. We are flooding the land, other than using modern ways of sprinkling only where the plant is, or even drip irrigation and so on. Solar power is in plenty. We can use it for pumping the water, and we remain very backward compared to what we can do. And if we can judge ourselves against ourselves, we have not exploited even the 10% of the potential that is in the people's heads, in the education that we've gone through school to learn, and even in the resources that we have. It's just incredible.
Okay, and there has been a lot of mismanagement of resources that would have been channeled to farming. Say the Mumias Sugar Company that collapsed, and it meant then a lot of people. So we don't have this sugar, and then a lot of people lost their jobs. There was a plan to revive the cotton industry in the country. So these steps are yet to be actualized. So are we losing ground? We have a lot of land, we have space, but then if we are not putting it to work, they're not about our food security in the future.
This is what we need to ask ourselves. When in around 1963, we were ahead of the Asian tigers, the Singapores, the Malaysia, that whole region of the world, which has seen tremendous growth in what we call development in food security and everything that goes with it. we were ahead of them. But since independence, we've only worked, to keep things the way they were. We never grew anything in terms of, the agricultural space.
Yeah.
If you talk about for example, you just mentioned the Mumia Sugar Company. Those farmers have only learned all their lives to grow sugarcane and nothing else. That is a strategic failure in the government systems, where you hold people more or less captive. If you go to Mwea, you find that they only grow rice. Nothing else. They grow rice, yes. And then the yields are going down, because no soil in the world should feed one crop forever. True. If you go to North Rift, we have got the maize. Maize. Then, of course, diseases start coming in, which we can no longer control because of that lack of crop rotation.
So that industry can just die.
This is what gives me sleepless nights. As a company, we are trying to do conservation agriculture. Yeah. We are bringing in not just mechanization, but mechanization that is sensitive to the environment, where you don't have to turn the soil every time in plowing. You just need to open where you are going to plant. Where you have ground like this, just after spraying the chemical, you just come with a machine that puts the seed in. The soil remains undisturbed. The microbial activity that is in there continues, and avoids all the dangers of when we turn soil over. Somebody said it's like tsunami for the microbes that are in the soil. You're actually destroying the environment for good.
Okay.
If you go to Maunarok, you find places where farmers are using tractors down the slope. Slopes where nobody should be farming. The slope is so big that the tractor can only plow on the way up, not on the way down. No, on the way down, not on the way up. Imagine when you have a slope, the tractor plows downwards, it goes up without plowing, comes down next, and so on. They charge twice for that, to do that. But imagine the damage they are causing.
True.
When that rainfall comes, it will carry all that soil down. Who is allowing that? The chief I talked about should be trained to make sure nobody is farming above a certain slope.
Yeah.
But look what we are doing to this country. It's crazy.
So then, as we conclude, we'll talk a little bit about innovation. And just now, the trends that are right now in the market in terms of farming. Yes, Wangari. So let's talk about how mechanization has taken a forefront.
I think just before I tackle your question, I'll add on the Mumia's issue. For me, I'm a big campaigner for Cottage Industries. Yes, you found your parents planting sugarcane, but what else can you do to value add, to sell to your neighbors something they need every day? And I talked about a university of YouTube. In my channel, Farm on Fire, we show people how to make homemade sauce, how to make, homemade powdered vegetables to add to your smoothies and that kind of thing. So that's also an opportunity as we wait for the government to wake up. We can be doing something with the resources and the skills and the knowledge we have. You've seen those big snakes that only people can find in the Amazon being found in the sugar plantations. Has someone tried to capture that and make money? Because the rest of the world, which is not very snake averse, would want to see that. Are we thinking outside the box? Farming, yes, is one thing, but can we do value addition? Can we think how else can we make use of whatever we are growing? Okay. So on innovation, young people, I believe even in investing in younger people than myself, because I feel like their brain just thinks of how do I make this more efficient? How do I make this more easier? For myself, maybe my mom, she had to employ a lot of people to come and till the land, but then I'll be like, I can get a tractor to till. If it's the watering, I know I can water, yes, but I'll only water for 3 days. Then the following week, if I travel out of town, my crops will die.
And there was a conversation about tea pickers. They were
Yes.
complaining about how now machines are coming
Yes.
and they're taking over their jobs.
Yes.
So what can you say about that?
But then a change will always happen. Realize when the cycle ends. Everyone, even today, not to say bad news, but Nalima, your job won't always be here. You have to always think of what can potentially disrupt my job. COVID can come.
So you
then
can
how will I? Yes.
Adjust.
Yes, cycles in life, nothing is permanent. You won't always have what you have. And that's what the tea pickers didn't get. That also the companies didn't do maybe enough education to show them that in doing this, we are going, it's helping life all around. And that those kinds of conversation of, yes, it's the end of the road, but the world doesn't care. You still have to continue surviving.
Okay.
Yes.
So we've come to the end of the show. Thank you so much for being part of the discussion, Dr. Kaumbudo, and of course, Wangari. Thank you so much. And that is how we conclude the food conversation right here on Food Thursday at Locust TV. I am Nancy Nalima. Thank you for watching.
We value your feedback and welcome your complaints about our programming and operations. Feel free to get in touch with us through 0700 893 542 or send us an email to views@look-up.tv. We can't wait to hear from you. You're watching Look Up TV.